Hello and welcome back to the channel. So, today I wanted to do another weapon build, which this one is going to be over Phenmor. Now, Phenmor, if you don't know, is one of the original Incarnon weapons, and it's really powerful. I would argue it's the strongest weapon in the game, bar none. So, where you get this weapon, you get it from the Zeramin. You buy it from a guy named Calavero, or Calvalero, however it's pronounced. But this one's really good. You have to be, I believe, rep 2, or rank 2 or 3 with them to get this, but it's really worth the grind, to be honest, because this is I would say this is my strongest weapon in my arsenal. So for the Incarnon, the first one I have Rapid Wrath for more fire rate. The second one we have Executioner's Fortune. On headshot kill, 20% chance to instantly reload. The third one we have Headshots build 50% more Incarnon Transmutation Charge, which just basically means we can activate the Incarnon faster if we're getting headshots. And then the fourth one, 50% chance to deal plus 2000% damage on non-critical hits. So this weapon, basically what you want to do is aim for headshots when you're not in the Incarnon, and then when you are, don't look at heads, basically, because you want this to happen as much as possible. So for this build, this one's a build that I've invested a little more into. I've got 3 Forma, the Exilis, and the Augment slot, or not Augment, Arcane slot on this weapon. So, going through this one, we have Galvanized Chamber for more multi-shot, and it stacks up as you get kills. We have Rhyme Rounds for cold. This is a cold 60-60 mod, which if you don't have this, you can easily swap on a Cryo Rounds, which should be the pretty early on you get this one, I believe. We have Vigilante Armaments for more multi-shot. If you don't have this, you could slop on something like Split Chamber. Hellfire. Galvanized Aptitude for status chance on kill. Bane of the Murmur, which any Bane mod goes here. You just swap it out as needed. But I have the Murmur because that's who I was fighting last. We have Thermite Rounds, which is the Heat 60-60 mod. If you don't have this, I wouldn't put anything here, really, because you want the Viral and the Slash on this weapon. And if you add another, well, you could probably put another element here, actually, and I don't think it would mess with it, because we have the Viral Heat Slash on this weapon. But this one, I would say, is kind of necessary, because you want your heat damage to be higher than your Viral, so you don't lose out on damage. And then Malignant Force for Toxin, and more status chance. So our status chance is 66.2%, but our crit is 20, which is pretty good, because you don't want crit chance on this weapon. And then Terminal Velocity here in the Exilis slot, because it's just a quality of life thing, to be honest, make the projectiles fly a little faster at the enemies. And then we have Primary Merciless, which as you get kills, you'll get 10% damage for 4 seconds, and it stacks up to 12 times. If you have more copies of this, I would get more copies of this. But these things, from what I've gathered, tend to be pretty expensive to, like, fully max out. But I haven't gotten lucky with other drops, so I only have it tier 1. But yeah, that's about it for the build. And I am pairing it with Gauze. Again, you don't have to, but I really like Gauze as a weapons platform. And yeah, we will jump into the Simulacrum, and I can show you guys what this build can do. Alrighty, now we're here in the Simulacrum, and I've got my enemies spawned in. These ones are Corrupted Heavy Gunners, level 120. So first thing we're going to do is come up and farm up our Incarnon. Which takes about 5 shots to charge up. And then this weapon, you activate it, and then you look at the enemies, and you remove them from existing. And this weapon, if I remember right, also has some punch through. So you can see here we set these guys on fire back here. And the reason you want your heat higher also than your Viral is the heat will also do a little bit of armor strip there, as you can see. And then all these statuses here are pretty powerful with this setup. And then what I like to do for this weapon, or really any weapon, but it works also very well with this one, is activate Redline on Gauze. And then that turns this weapon from a machine gun to a bigger machine gun. So now, it's just absolute death ray that you can walk around and point at anything in your sight and turn everything to dust. This is the weapon that I have been using while clearing through Steel Path and stuff like that. And this weapon is truly a beast of its own comparatively to anything else that I have. And pairing it with gauze just makes it an absolute dumpster. But honestly, I feel like that's true for any weapon, really. You put it on gauze, and it's going to deep fry your enemies. But even without it, you can see here, we don't have the Incarnate active right now. But this thing is still baking these guys. But yeah, that's the build for this one. I like to keep my weapon guides pretty short and simple and to the point, because I've got the high-level enemies here in the Simulacrum being 120s, which I know you can get higher-level enemies, but I'm not sure how to get higher-level enemies in here, because the highest it will allow me to set them at is 120. So I'm not sure, maybe that's the max until I hit a higher mastery rank. But this weapon is honestly, it's been my favorite weapon in the game since I saw that it came out. And I'm glad to finally have it, and to be absolutely baking the enemies in Steel Path with it. Because gauze is my Steel Path frame of choice, and this weapon fries. In or out of Incarnon, but this build is for the Incarnon. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.